episode 17. Keep it dark. Yeah. And it's your boy Icon with a little DC TV going over the Flash. So, and this is going to be a quick one because my baby mama Iris was still in on the show and I have problems with that. And a lot of questions like, well, we'll get to that at the end. So anyway, so this particular episode starts. It starts where there is a fire at a lab. I forget the name of the lab. That's not important. And when we get to the lab, the Flash shows up to try to save the people. But by the time the Flash gets there, because they said the lab was on fire, by the time the Flash gets there, the fire had already been put out, and all the people have already been brought to safety. So now, then they end up thanking the Flash, like, "Thank you, Flash, for saving our lives and putting out the fire." And he's like, "Dude, I just got here." So he was just like, so that's when Barry's like, "Yo, I think there's another Speedster in town." So they're trying to put theories and ideas and thoughts together of where this new Speedster can come from. But then Barry started thinking. He was just like, "Well, listen," he said the whole thing with Thawne and everything, and he said that he has knowledge of the future. He's like, "You know what, just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go talk to Earbar Thawne. I'll be back." Now the problem is, and this is the cool part, they have Earbar Thawne locked up on Lian, which is the island prison that they used on Arrow, which was also the island where Oliver was trapped for 5 years. Well, 3.5. So nice little Arrow reference. But the problem is because he's on Lian, there's no cell phone servers, there's no cell towers or whatever. So when he goes there, he's basically off the grid for a while. So he tells Chester and Allegra that he's like, "Listen, yeah, I got to hold it down because I'm about to go talk to Thawne." So he runs down and he talks to Thawne. Nothing really happened when he talked to Thawne. Like, him and Thawne had a conversation, and then Thawne was basically just like, "I hate you and I'm gonna kill you." And then Barry was like, "You ain't got no powers." And then that's when Thawne was just like, "Oh, well, Barry was like, 'Oh, you're jealous of this new Speedster in town,' and he was like, 'Nobody is gonna kill you before I kill you,' and blah blah blah." And then Thawne was basically just like, he was just like, "You're an idiot, Flash, because you don't see what's happening." He said that the reason why this person is keeping a low profile is because that they just got their speed and they don't know how to use it. So Barry's like, "Oh," and then he ends up going back to Central City. While all that was going on, it takes us back to Central City, and the focus is now on Allegra and Chester, but mostly Allegra. Allegra is in charge of CCC Media until Iris comes back. And that snotty white girl that has it out for Allegra and wants to take Allegra down, she wanted to run a story about basically Allegra because she said, "I got a photo of this person with these like illuminating light powers that's helping the Flash." And she said, "If we can expose this person, that'll be a good story." Obviously, Allegra turned it down because she'd be exposing herself in that matter. And instead, she wants to run a different type of story because the girl that she bumped into a few episodes back that was sweeping the floors of CC Jitters, the girl said that she was on the run from the gang that her, Allegra, and Allegra's cousin used to be involved in. And the three metahumans that the Mirror Master's husband had employed, they've now taken over the gang, and they're using the gang to do dastardly deeds and all this other stuff. They tried to pull that girl back into the gang because they could utilize her services, and then the girl said no, so now they're trying to kill her. Allegra talked the girl into basically outing them on live TV. And then she said, "We can do a news report about it. And then, we can bring light to the subject because this is obviously personal for Allegra because she used to be in the gang and she wants the girls who are trapped in the gang to get out. Also, it serves as a purpose so the people that work at CC Media don't end up doing the story about her teaming up with the Flash." So she goes to the team, like the CC Media team, and she asks them, she's like, "Hey, listen, this is the story I want to run." And then all three of them are like, "No, it's a bad idea. It's dangerous." And I'm sitting here, I'm like, why are these the only three people that work here? I'm like, they're like, this is CC Media. I'm pretty sure there were other reporters in the building that Allegra could have asked. Instead, you picked the three specific people that don't like you or don't really talk to you or don't respect you. I'm like, where's everyone else that works in this building? But then she pulled the rank card, she pulled the boss card, she brought Chester in, she convinced her friend to do the interview, and now they're setting up to do the interview. Right before the interview happens, the bad guys show up, like the gang shows up, and they have the building surrounded and they're trying to kill the girl. Chester ends up using some force field tech to trap everybody in a room, but eventually the tech will fail and then the villains will get in. Now, the non-superpowered people is freaking out. Like the white girl freaking out, the other girl freaking out, the dude freaking out, everybody freaking out. They're like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die," and blah, blah, blah. Now, the snooty white girl, she was never a fan of doing the story about the gang. And she didn't understand why Allegra was so hell-bent on getting the story done. So because she is a reporter, she did some digging, and she found out that both Allegra and her cousin used to be in the gang. She outed Allegra in front of everybody, and that gave us the scene that Dion and Barry saw when they were in the Still Force, where where Allegra was just like, "Oh, it's my life, my decision," and blah blah blah. That scene that kept replaying over, and they did a good job of that because the show made it seem like when they did that scene, and because the girl was trying to investigate Allegra as being a person that's helping the Flash, they made it seem like she was gonna out her as a meta to the entire world, but it wasn't her outing her as a meta. She was gonna out her as far as her being a part of the gang, and Allegra freaked out over that. And so then in the end, when the other two found out, like, oh, you were a part of the gang, then it was like, oh, we can't trust you. And I was like, oh God. So then, Allegra had to talk to Chester. Thank God Chester was there. She spoke to Chester, and then Chester was just like, listen, because Allegra was like, oh, I'm a bad leader. And she's like, I'm not good at leading. And then she said, when we were kids, I tried to lead a mission once for the gang and it got someone shot. And I'm like, why are we back on this? And then Chester talked her off the ledge. And then he was like, you're Allegra freaking Garcia, act like it. And then, she finally kind of like butched up and she got her act together. Now, this is the part that surprised me. A la Barry Allen style, she ended up telling all three reporters in CC Media, she told them that she was a meta. She even used her power to light up the room. And then she said, listen, this is my secret. These are my powers. I need you to trust me so I can help save our lives. And I guess now because they know she's a meta, they decided to trust her. And plus they don't got a choice anyway because they was about to bust through the room. So then, then she got everybody out. The metas, they came in, they busted through the shield. Allegra fought them off. She took a shot in the gut. Chester ended up, what happened was Allegra was basically just trying to buy time so that way the other people can actually do the interview, because they're trying to kill this girl so the girl won't out them on TV. So the only thing that they can think of to save their own lives is if the girl ends up doing the interview and outs them on live TV, there'd be no reason to kill them. And then that's basically what happened. So like they ended up doing they did the interview in another room while Allegra was in another room fighting off the metas. When they saw that the broadcast went live and that the girl outed that gang in front of the whole world, that's when they stopped. And then they were just like, all right, we'll get you next time, bitch. And then Allegra was like, we'll get out of here before the cops show up. And then they dipped. Allegra even did the thing where she like illuminated herself, and then like her body turned into like 100% like energy, and then she started glowing, and she gave a name to herself. This was interesting because I remember Captain Singh in the last episode, he was like, oh, you're a superhero, right? Don't you have a code name? And then she was just like, no, I'm just Allegra Garcia, I don't have a code name. When she was talking to the enemy, she made a statement. She said, I am the light meta, and then she said something in Spanish, and I assume she called herself the light meta in Spanish. So she indirectly just gave herself her own superhero name. And it sounds way cooler in Spanish because like calling her the light meta is very generic, but when you say it in Spanish, it actually sounds like a cool name. So if that's the name that she's sticking with, then I'm fine with that as long as she continues to say it in Spanish. So so anyway, like I said, so they took down the bad guys because the report went live on TV. So the bad guys dipped, and then they ended up, the police busted up their operation. They got the girl to safety, and everything was fine. Allegra got a hole in her gut, but I said, but it's all good. And she even bust out some new power because when she took that shot in the gut, she was able to use her power to extract the light that came off of the, the bullet hole that shot her, because the Asian chick that shot her used like that light gun. And then the other meta that could disappear through like light fixtures and disappear through illuminations or whatever, she was able to pull that girl out of her invisibility, and I thought that was pretty dope too. So now Allegra's basically leveled up, as they say on The Flash. So then, after that, then Barry comes home, he talks to them about everything that happened, and then, they're just like, he's like, I'm glad you guys are safe or whatever. Then they get another alert from the same lab that went off earlier in the episode. So Barry goes down to try to confront this meta, and when he gets there, the meta's there. It is a speedster. The speedster was trying to put tech back into the lab, and then Flash thought that was funny because he was like, I never saw anybody break into a lab and put back what they've already stolen. And then the meta tried to run from him, and she couldn't get away from him because he's the Flash. And then the girl got mad, and she was just like, damn it. She was like, I can run faster than the speed of light. How is it that I cannot run you? He's like, because I'm the Flash. And then he talked her down, and he was like, listen, I'm not here to bust your ass. He said, I just want to talk. And then when she took her mask off and revealed who she was, she's the woman that actually runs the company. She's the CEO of the company, so she basically robbed her own company, but she said that she was doing it on purpose because she was trying to get a handle on her powers, because she created, I guess, an artificial speed force that she was able to tap into. And now that she has these speed force powers, she doesn't know how to control them, and she was trying to come up with ways to control them. Then she was just like, I only want to use my power for good. And then Barry was like, I'm happy to hear you say that, because he was just like, me, when I first started, he said that, I had a mentor and I can be your mentor too if you allow me. And then she said, great, that'd be cool working with the Flash. He shook his hand, and I believe her superhero name is Fast Track. And it is nice to actually see, like a Middle Eastern, like Indian, Arabic, like character, like I said, East Asian character on television, especially now because, and this is very convenient timing because, like Marvel just put out Miss Marvel, which is, a Hindu based character. And now we got one on the Flash as well. So I'm just like, these companies probably talk to each other. But like I said, but it's cool to have Fast Track on. And I saw in the coming attractions for next episode that she ends up introducing Barry to the person who helped her, build the machine that I guess gave her speed. And it's like the original Eobard Thawne. And when I say the original Eobard Thawne, I ain't talking about Harrison Wells. I'm talking about like the blonde, the original Thawne that came to the past, killed the OG Wells, stole the OG Wells' face, and then paraded around as Wells. So now there are two Eobard Thawnes. There's the original Thawne that's in the lab working with the Indian girl, and then there's the Thawne that eventually becomes Harrison Wells that's trapped on Lian Yu. And that is going to be hilarious to me because I feel like this is how Harrison Thawne is going to get his speed back, but apparently the Thawne that we see now, he doesn't remember who he is, like he lost his memory. So that's going to be interesting when that whole thing unfolds. So I'm very interested in that, because that's going to be some pretty cool shit, because I like having both Thawnes in the thing because it confuses people, and I think that's just hilarious. And then finally, Caitlin showed up for like no reason. She sent everybody a video, and she was just like, oh, after Barry destroyed my lab, I've decided to go talk to my mom. I'm going to be with my mom for a little bit while I try to get over Killer Frost's death. I'll always be with you, Team Flash. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, that is 100% bullshit. You are not going to your mom's house just so you can clear your mind and clear your emotions from losing Killer Frost. You are going to your mom's house so you and your mom together can bring back Killer Frost, because your mom has access to your dad's old experiments. You have access to your dad's old lab. The Snow family's in cahoots here, and this is what's about to happen. And there's a lot of things that's, there's a lot of unanswered questions on the show, because, like I said, the whole thing with Killer Frost, her trying to bring Killer Frost back, that's still a thing. I guess we've closed the chapter on the Allegra storyline, like that's over. But now we got this trajectory thing where like there's a new person now, and like Thawne is here now, like the original Thawne is here now, so that's a thing. But I'm like, what happened to the guy that was stealing Chester's shit? Like, like the Flash has gone in many different directions this season. There have been multiple villains, and and I guess it makes sense, because in real life, no villain is just gonna sit by and wait for the villain before him or her to fail. But they're like, oh, wait, this person tried to take over the city. What, you failed? Okay, guess this week it's my turn. Like, it actually makes sense that different people would try to attack the city and do things at different times. So that makes sense. But on the other hand, it's very confusing to keep track of, because I'm like, well, I forgot Ronnie was a thing at one point, because we're just moving on to the next person and the next person, the next person. I'm like, what happened with the Chester thing? But like I said, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's how the episode ended. And thank you for tuning in. So yeah, so more questions now. So we only got 3 episodes left. And the Chester thing hasn't come up yet with 3 episodes left. And then the Iris story, like Iris is still trapped in the Still Force, like what's going on with Iris? There are so many things left on the table. Even Joe still has that time stone that he got from Damien Dark. Like, why is this not getting brought up? A lot of things aren't getting brought up on the show, but we'll see what happens now, because I said, now that Thawne's a thing, we got to focus on Thawne and Fast Track now, and we got to put Chester, we got to put Iris. Why are we putting Iris on hold? Like, why is Iris's storyline being put on hold? But like I said, share your questions, comments, and concerns, and we will continue to talk about it, because this is some crazy ass stuff. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram, always on YouTube, where you can check out my other videos, because my season finale of Young Justice is on the channel. We're doing, Superman and Lois, which only has 2 episodes left, and we're doing Marvel's Miss Marvel for all you Marvel fans. And I do have a video for Brooklyn Con coming up, I hope, because I am going to Brooklyn Con. And when Brooklyn Con is over, I hope to have some footage that I can show you guys, and you can share that journey with me as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next time, till we pick a storyline to go with on the Flash, I'll see you then.